Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Global Education's virtual Expo. I've got an exciting webinar for you tonight. We're very blessed and very lucky to have Durham University presenting to us here. I know we're a little bit late, but don't worry. We've got a fantastic content and information that's going to be shared. It's a very interactive webinar as well. And just for some housekeeping before I introduce Dr. Mudashiru, who's the Senior Manager at Durham, some housekeeping for everybody. This webinar is recorded and we will be resharing it to yourselves who've registered and to a variety of schools that we work with around Zimbabwe and South Africa. So if you are listening and would like to have some more information, please just take a picture of the barcode next to me on the screen here. My contact details will be at the end of this presentation as well and in the newsletter. And as always, please enjoy, sit back, relax, put your questions in the chat box because you're in for a good one today. Dr. Mudashiru, the floor is yours if you'd like to share your screen, and thank you very much. We really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity and thank you for having me. I want to extend my very warm welcome to all our colleagues that are joining us from Southern Africa. Good evening from this part of the world here at Durham University. You can see behind me, sitting right in front of our very beautiful castle, which is one of the university colleges, which is called the Castle College. And with a lot of history, there's a lot of opportunity as well for people to be able to. So can you see my screen now? Can you see my screen? Okay. And I think I want to start by commending our colleagues, our partnership with our global education, and that we are using this platform to be able to reach our colleagues around the world, and also particularly with focus on the South Africa. And I hope what we present today will be something that will give us the opportunity, all of us the opportunity, because when I was researching about putting things together for the purpose of this, even me myself have been very challenged, and I hope you feel very challenged, very inspired, and be able to see sort of a more futuristic, if you like, and I will start. And I think part of what we are going to talk about today is about the preparing students for the jobs of the future. Not only about the student, but even ourselves in terms of looking into the beyond, and hopefully the sort of takeaway messages that I will hopefully leave you with today is for you to be able to think not only personally, but also the sort of the students that we are looking after, that their own futures will be very different to the one that we have today over the next decade or the next 2 decades. And I will try to dissect that by making this as interactive as possible. I will try to speak at any point in time for a maximum of 5 to 10 minutes. Then I have some videos to be able to encapsulate and try to summarize everything together. So I will make a start. Can you see the next page? I thought I will start by giving you a brief background about myself. I want to thank George again for that wonderful introduction. My name is, usually people just call me by my middle name, Kola, but for the professional aspect, I'm called Dr. Mudashiru. And you will see that my background resonates with colleagues in Southern Africa. I'm also an African, as you can see, by birth. I was born in Nigeria, then I moved here about 20 years ago. In fact, I'll be celebrating my 20 years anniversary of being in the UK in the next 2 months or so. So it's been an exciting opportunity being around here. And I spent the first 15 years of that period at Newcastle University, doing a wide range of higher level degrees, background in geochemistry, then went on to do academic research and academic work. Then I've been very lucky to have actually had the opportunity of carrying out academic and research positions in various countries around the world, including Canada, Australia, Netherlands, China, India, and Indonesia. And I continue to hold some sort of partnership with colleagues around the world. In fact, in the context of South Africa, I'm a visiting academic to the University of Cape Town, so as well as Stellenbosch. In fact, Cape Town, I'm also an external examiner for their PhD and master students in the area of geochemistry. I've also worked very closely with EU as an expert reviewer under the EU Horizon 2020. Also invited a reviewer for EPSRC, which is our funding sort of government here in the UK. And then I moved to Durham University about 7 years ago now, where I transitioned into this world of academia. And this sort of slide sort of encapsulate most of the logos of various organizations that I've been associated with over the last 20 years. Is with a privilege that I have this opportunity of being able to represent here at Durham University. But I thought I will start with giving you once again a very, very warm welcome to Durham University this evening. And thank you very much for taking your time. Once again, that's our beautiful castle. And I just thought I would give you 1 minute or so to introduce Durham University to you. That was our beautiful castle at a sort of a sunset, if you like. That very well taken around one summer. And that beautiful castle that you see there, which has a lot of sense of history associated with it, built over 1,000 years ago, and it's a sort of a Durham, one of our colleges, which is a living-in castle. So a number of our colleagues, our students from around the world, whenever they come here, they can't believe that you're actually living in a castle and you're studying in a university. People say, oh my goodness. And you don't have to be a royal to be able to have that privilege. Once you excel academically, you have opportunity to do that. And as a university, we've been around for a very long time. We were established in 1832. We in the area of we are the third oldest university in England. We're a member of the prestigious group of university called the Roosevelt Group of Universities, which is very similar to Ivy League in the States. We consistently been ranking within number 4, number 5 in the UK over the last 20 years. We're top 100 university in the world as well. So we have all those credibility. And that's a very nice panoramic view of our university and the city together. And I look forward to opportunity to welcome all of you to our beautiful campus. That's Durham for you. And I thought I would start this discussion by putting this sort of slide on from the World Economic Forum, summarizing the fourth industrial revolution, if you like. Because it is that sort of its fourth industrial revolution coupled with globalization that is actually driving the sort of work that we are doing and the sort of discussion that we are having about the job of the future. Because if we look at in the context of a globalization, it is a globalization that we know is a phenomenon that is driven by technology and the movement of ideas, people, and goods around the world. And I think we have this platform to be able to discuss those ideas tonight. As you can see from the slide here, the fourth industrial revolution is interacting with other economic, demographic factors, creating a perfect opportunity for business model change in all industry, resulting in a sort of disruption, if you like. So, and as a result of that disruption, that is where we need to then prepare ourselves as well as the future children, future generation of students to be able to fit for purpose in terms of what they do. And I will be setting out that discussion in the context of where we are today, where we are going to see ourselves in the future, and the sort of intersectionality between the job of the future as well as the education. Overarching within that is the skill set that are required between both the old as well as the new occupation. What is very important now that we know is that change is constant. And the fact that change is constant, that means the sort of jobs that people like us we are doing today, about 50% of these jobs will be replaced by different jobs that have not even been created. And I'm sure all of us we are aware of what is now known as gig economy. The gig economies, which is disrupting, whether it's in sort of Amazon, if you like, whether it's a sort of a food delivery, whether it's a Uber app riders. So all those things are bringing into focus the sort of gig economies, if you like. And it's actually very interesting because just a few days ago, I was just walking on the street and I did not know that there was a car behind me. And that is an example of that car, which is more of a sort of a very quiet, which is an hybrid car, if you like. and they are so silent that you will not even know that anything is coming behind you. But I want to go into this next, which is also a product of the research with the World Economic Forum, setting out the sort of stages of various industrial processes. Now we are now calling what is called the Industry 4.0. And all these Industry 4.0, as you can see from here, will be driven by cyber physical systems, Internet of Things, as well as network. And I think being able to gather ourselves here tonight is actually a product of that tonight. And you can actually see the progression and the development from Industry 1.0, where we started with mechanization, up to stream engine, weaving loom, up to Industry 2, to where we are now. And I want to then look at the sort of timeline in terms of industrial revolution. Change has been very constant. For example, if you look at the first industrial revolution, we started in 1765. Then everything was mechanization led by steam engine. And I think at the United Kingdom here, we were at the forefront of that. I mean, and the rest of the world as well. Then you then look at the second industrial revolution, which was about mass production. For example, everyone knows the history of whether it's automation at the time before that even went into that transition from that second industrial revolution in 1870 to 1967, where we have the sort of automation in terms of production, which then up to the fourth industrial revolution, which we are now talking about, which is more of new technologies, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, cyber and physical systems coupled together, if you like. So I want to please, George, sort of pause here. I want to share a brief 4-minute video about the industrial revolution. Please take it away. Do I need to stop sharing in the meantime, George? I don't need to. Are we able to get the sound, please?
Can you hear the sound?
No sound. Why George is working on this? Okay. Yeah. I don't know whether we can start from the start.
Let me start from the beginning.
Can we restart? Okay, cheers. Thank you so much for that. I mean, and I hope that sort of, do I need to share my screen, back to my screen? Okay, thank you. And I hope that gives you a sense of the scale of what we are talking about. And I think you will see it started from the sort of first revolution, industrial revolution, if you like, up to the future that we are talking about. But what I want to quickly talk about is to use that sort of video, which was put together by the World Economic Forum, is to sort of illustrate an example of some of the things that we are going to be talking about today. That the job market is changing by the minute, while accuracy to predict the future is impossible. However, what we know is that according to the work that has been done by people like McKinsey, in Global Institute, and a wide range of other colleagues, including the World Economic Forum, the Human Wanted, How Canadian Youth Can Thrive in the Age of Disruption report by Canadian government, Robot Ready report, Robot Ready, which I will come into, report by the World Economic Forum, Future of Jobs report by McKinsey again, and Essential Employability Qualities, which I will share with you as well as the Strander Institute of the Future of Work. So the wide range of these reports, what they put together is that there's a consensus around that. About 60% of the jobs that we have today will disappear and new jobs will be created. And most of these jobs, nobody knows what they will be. However, there are a lot of competencies that we need to develop to be future ready. And that is an example of why we have that sort of report, which was saying, asking people, are you robot ready? Because the future, part of the industrial revolution and the future that we are talking about in terms of the future of workforce is all about being robot ready. And that robot and automation will also be part of that mix. For example, there's a lot of researchers, particularly who are focusing on futuristic as well as longevity. They've actually come to a conclusion recently that the people that will live up to 150 years have actually been born. I mean, that is amazing. For example, if you look at the sort of not only the quality of life, but also the life expectancy, where people in the past, it was impossible for people to think people will be able to reach age of 80 or 100. Here in the United Kingdom, for example, the life expectancy for women is in the region about 87 years. And for male, is about 86. And as of today, we have about 4 million people that are well over the age of 80 in the United Kingdom today. And in terms of those that are over 100, we have close to about 80,000 here in the United Kingdom. So in terms of the futuristic as well as the expert on longevity, they are saying people that will be around for up to 150 years. It may not be people like me and yourself, but those people that will be around for another 150 years, they have been born. And that actually struck me just about 2 days ago. I was just out with my family and we went to an open event, and there was a man that was just playing a sort of concert. And that place, I mean, it's a sort of historical place as well, called the Usher College, built over 500 years ago with a lot of huge sense of history. And the man, after he played his piano, and I had a chat with him, and I said, this is a privilege to be able to meet you and things like that. And he said, you know what? In the next 2 weeks, I'll be 90 years old. And I couldn't believe it. And you then look at that, and it's not in a sort of Africa where you think, oh, people are making up, the records are there. So it will be 90 years old that someone physically fit, still playing piano. So I became convinced by the conclusion from the longevity and futuristic experts that people that will live to be 150 years, they're actually being born today. So, and that is an example that our generation in the past, where you go to university, You finish your university and you're in job for 40, 50 years. We may actually be able to now see some people are likely to actually be working for between 80 to 100 years, probably even over 100 years of their lifetime. Because one people, they finish education by the age of 25, even there are people who got PhD by the age of 22, or even 25 so an example, then you then have almost 125 years of your life to be able to work. That's very, very exciting. So so what we are saying is that although the future is uncertain, however, we do have some certainties to be able to start on. And some of those certainties, some people are arguing that some of those certainties lies in the area of STEM. Because when you look at some of these new technologies that we are talking about, as you see from Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, cyber and physical systems, all these are part of the product of STEM. That's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. However, that does not mean that there's no future for those in other areas, which I will elaborate. And I want to move on by saying, as we go on, there are some essential skill sets that we need to develop that will form part of our global competencies. And those will be cultural awareness, language, adaptability, digital literacy and fluency, a new mobility, a mobile and skilled workforce that will be able to drive that sort of economy. People are already talking about skill economy, which is hopefully that I want to move to the next slide, if I may, please. And this is what is giving impetus to some of the discussion that we're having within this sort of educational sector. For example, today, over 65% of today's teens will be employed in a sort of industries that do not exist today. For example, 10 to 20% of unemployed has not been triggered by the pandemic, if you like. Over 80% of learnings that we are doing will be by electronic, and 46% of all jobs will be classified as vulnerable. That's the 46%. About 50% of today's job will become vulnerable. So we then beginning to see the opportunity to start developing new competencies, new skill sets. And this is an example of what we are talking about, the changes over the prevalence of the type of skills that people have been doing from, if you look at it from 1960. And you'll be able to see most of the decline in a wide range of activities. For example, things that are routine, they are now being declined. And you then look at things that are not sort of non-routine interpretational and interpersonal skills are now on the increase, as you can see in that slide, or things that are non-routine, including analytics. Those are things that are enabled. I will now hand over to George to please show the second video, please, which is for 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you. And while George is preparing us for that next video, I will continue to talk until when that video is ready. I want to share an example of the work that is being done by Institute of the Future. Yes, please, George, go ahead when you are ready.
Morning, Jill.
Good morning, Amy. Where would you like to work today?
The office. What's the weather like today?
The temperature is 18 degrees with a 57% chance of rain. Are you ready to start your day?
Give me 10 minutes.
Okay. How would you like to get there?
I'll walk.
Do you want to ride?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Careful, Amy. Obstacle ahead. Nearly there. Good time, Amy.
Good morning, Amy. Welcome to JLL. You have one message from William Douglas.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Your first meeting is at 10:30. proceed to the elevators. Have a good day.
And you.
Lisa is in today. Lunch?
Good for me.
Invite sent. Have you seen the latest report?
No.
Your coffee will be ready in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Tip sent. This building uses sensors to make your day more productive. Need a desk?
Maybe later.
Sure. How's the temperature?
It's fine.
Ready to start your meeting with Eloise Dupont?
I am indeed.
I'll let her know.
Bonjour Amy, ça va?
Bonjour, Eloise. Hold on.
Auto-translating.
Vous avez vérifié le document que je vous ai envoyé?
Yeah, all looks great. Thanks very much. Au revoir.
Bonne journée, au revoir, merci.
Are you happy to share your building usage data today? Have a great evening, Amy.
Plan for route home?
Stop navigation.
Navigation off.
Send a message to Tom. Are we still okay for the meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock?
Message sent. Would you like to switch to personal mode?
Yes, please.
Personal mode. Work mode returns 7 a.m. tomorrow.
Confirm.
Have a nice evening, Amy. Enjoy the sunset.
Good night, Jill.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for that. And I hope, colleagues, you can, and I hope that gives you a very tantalizing idea about what the future holds for all of us. I mean, you can see from that automation, getting to your work, getting to everything is almost seamless. And I think that is the future. You can even decide to work wherever you are. An example is that even tonight, we are able to communicate this. I'm here in beautiful Durham here. George, who is our facilitator and our host for this webinar, is joining us from the beautiful part in Australia. And we're able to interact with our colleagues several thousands of miles away. On average, when I'm coming to South Africa, it takes me an average of 11 to 12 hours to fly there. And can you imagine? And even to Australia, which we normally take an average of 18 hours to get there. So it's incredible to be able to then use this opportunity. And this is the future. And I want to continue this conversation by quoting the work of the Institute for the Future and the Lumina Foundation report about AI forces shaping work and learning in 2030. And it's actually very interesting. When I was actually looking at the IFTF, which is the Institute for the Future and Lumina Foundation, because it's interesting that we now have institute, which is actually the institute is about the future. So that means the future is coming. So whether we like it or not. And one thing that is also very important is that for us to be able to ensure that we look at the robot readiness of ourselves as well as our students as well. And these are some of the impetus that are given into the context of education that we are talking, the intersectionality between education as well as the future skill. For example, we can see there's a sort of a digital revolution taking place. For example, almost 10 million of people, EdTech and virtual event that we are now users, that we are now doing, which is generating in the region of about 250 billion that is projected by 2022. So we definitely have to be within that space. And 87% of parents view classroom technology as important for the child's success. So those are the sort of challenges that we are looking at, that we definitely, and those in terms of industrial revolution is taking place across every sector, whether it's the educational sector, whether it's the technological space, whether it's in personal life, as you can see from that sort of JJL video, is actually going to be able to affect a personal life. So what we know is that there's a quiet sort of crisis taking place that is ongoing. And that crisis is the sort of a crisis of lot of jobs, but not enough skill. For example, here in the United Kingdom, thousands or if not millions of jobs or spaces that are unfilled because of shortage of skill. So to prepare ourselves for the future is to ensure that we are able to upskill ourselves. And the question I want to ask all our listeners tonight is that, are you ready for the future of work? And how can you strive, succeed, and become competitive in the age of disruption? Disruption is going to be the new normal as we move on. An example is what I try to summarize here. For example, you look at the 19th century. This used to be the way the classroom in the past. And then you look at the 20th century, the sort of the classroom. And you then look at the 21st century, the classroom, the way it's being reorganized. Everything that is based on task-based, rather than sitting and being lectured all the time. Everything will be oriented based on tasks and things that you'll be able to do. And that is actually the future that we have to share together. And I want to look at the OECD report work that is being done in terms of the future of education and skills. Because while we are talking about the future of a workforce, it's not possible not to talk about the education aspect. And it is that intersectionality that will be able to deliver what we want to do. And I hope at the end of this presentation, I'll be able to leave you with 6 things that you need to know about the future of work and how you can prepare yourself to succeed in that space. You can see, as you can see, the intersectionality between education and technology. If you look at it from the left-hand side, and you'll be able to see the gaps that we are now seeing then from industrial revolution up to the future that we are talking about. And you're beginning to look at the gaps between the education as well as the skills that is required as part of the future. And those are the things that even as an international education, as an global education provider, those are the challenges that we need to rise to as well. And you can look at the sort of World Economic Forum. This is the projected skill demand for all occupation in order of descending importance. And you'll be able to see the sort of skills. And that report was based on Human Wanted report that was carried out by the government of Canada. And that Human Wanted was that they said there's a lot of jobs, but not a lot of people. And you can be able to see all the various skill sets and things that are projected. For example, you look at active listening, and you'll be able to see in the order of very important, important, less important, and not required. And how we are moving into the future, how those things will be very, very important. Speaking, critical thinking, skill set like reading, comprehension, monitoring, social perceptions, coordination, time management, and all those skills across. So you begin to look at all those areas that are important and those that are less important, and be able to use that sort of insight to be able to prepare ourselves so that we can become very, very competitive. And am I correct, George? Not only that we share these recordings, I'm happy for us to be able to also share this presentation with all the attendees tonight. Thank you so for confirming that. And I want to look at the, as I said, Institute for the Future. There has been a work within the Foresight and Insight and Action methodology that they've developed for one to be able to take ownership of the development of personal development opportunity to be able to be ready for the future. And the sort of action that you need to be able to do, the way of thinking, and how you have the foresight and be able to have an insight. And I think that is part of the things that we are doing today. And I hope this session gives you an insight into the future that we are talking about, which will hopefully galvanize you into developing your own action plans and be able to have a sort of foresight into how you prepare yourself to be able to be ready in terms of not only ourselves, but the future of our students for the future, and even our families and the children. And this is an example which I've just deducted from one of the Robot Ready Future reports. The automation will make us all human. And that is the good news. Because nowadays, whenever we talk about automation, everyone is afraid that automation will take our jobs, robots will replace human beings. But the exciting thing is, it will actually make us to be more human, because most of the skill set that will be required are the things that are sort of inherently made us to be human. For example, we believe that the work of the future will make us more human. The skill that will give us security in this robot future are very compatible capabilities that defines us as human. You can see from that summary, human skills are ability that go by many natures, whether you describe them as a soft, non-cognitive, power, common, transferable, baseline, 21st century, employability, workforce readiness, interpersonal, talent, life, and professional. And all those things will become very important as we develop ourselves and make ourselves ready for the workforce of the future. Can I go to my colleague, George, please? I want you to please share the 3 to 5 minute video that is next, please. Thank you. And while George is preparing that for us, I already alluded into that sort of conversation about the gig economy, and that is how that is disrupting the whole society and how that is redefining the way we do business. Take it away, George. Thank you.
Many pundits claim that we'll lose our job. How to prepare for the job of the future. Many pundits claim that we'll lose our jobs to robots and AI. Many are proclaiming that we don't have to worry because many types of new future jobs will be created. The reality may lie somewhere between the two extremes. Then there is this question of time horizon that nobody talks about. Are we talking about 5 years or 50 years? It's all so confusing. Many management gurus are talking about what companies should do, but few are talking about what we should do and how we should educate our kids. I'm going to attempt to do that in this video. Nobody can make accurate long-term predictions, but we can make educated guesses. One thing we all agree on is that the jobs of tomorrow will be impacted by AI. So how do you and your children prepare for it? What do you do specifically? Today, computers can do some things better than humans, like using TurboTax to file your taxes instead of doing it manually. Similarly, AI can do some things better than humans, like using it to search through billions of credit card transactions to catch fraudulent ones. On the other hand, humans are good at empathy and creativity. We just need to find the things that computers and AI systems cannot do and complement them to provide much higher value than what could have been done just by the system or just by humans. So what are those things? There are skills like leadership, communication, storytelling, empathy, creativity, and imagination. You notice a common thread here? These are not based on explicit knowledge, such as you'll find in disciplines like math or science or history or medicine. These are human-centric tacit skills. This does not mean that you can develop those skills without foundational knowledge. In fact, if you are a doctor, to better communicate with your patients, you need to know something about medicine. So the foundational knowledge is definitely needed, but in addition, you need to develop these tacit skills, and together, they can make you a much better doctor. Just tacit skills aren't enough though. A barber may have skills to regale his customers with tall stories or be creative with hairstyling. But most barbers barely make ends meet. While a barber's job will be safe from AI because few people will trust a robot with a pair of scissors, it does not mean that you should seek out such a job. foundational knowledge is critical. Let's say that you're passionate about helping cure other people. Just being a doctor will not differentiate you because AI can perform a lot of your work. Say you have analytical abilities as well. Combine these skills, and that'll help you differentiate yourself from AI systems which operate in narrow domains. The more interests you can add to this mix, the more value you can bring, and the more unique you will be. While advances in AI in recent years have been impressive, we have a long way to go before they can match up the cognitive power of humans. We understand how simple machine learning works. The one complex subset of machine learning is deep learning using neural networks. Due to its complex structure, currently we're not able to explain how it works. These deep learning machines can process huge amounts of data to find patterns, but they're not able to match a 2-year-old child who can identify a dog without having to look at a million of them. Deep learning may not be our answer to general purpose AI. Rather, metaphorically speaking, it's like a bicycle. Yes, it's much better than walking everywhere, but we are nowhere close to a car or an airplane, metaphorically speaking again. A car is not just an improved version of a bicycle, and a plane is just not an improved version of a car. They're fundamentally different, so we need some major breakthroughs, and no one can predict when that might happen. Our educational system is archaic and flawed. Here's how it works now. A large number of classes are offered, and depending on the degree you want to get, you take a set of classes. If you want to become a doctor, you take this set of classes. If you want to become a mechanical engineer, you take another set of classes, and so on. There are a few overlapping ones, but they are framed against the degree that you seek. To compete effectively with AI, you need more than just a predetermined set of classes. You have to actively reach out and take classes in areas that will help position you for a better future. In other words, you have to almost configure your own degree, so to speak. Unfortunately, since the current university system does not let you do that, you have to work towards a single degree while picking the classes that you think you can combine intelligently and make you more valuable. To have a job in the future, you have to be in a continuous cycle of assessing, learning, applying, and adapting as your environment continues to change. What you study and learn may be different from people in the same profession, but always keep in mind what AI can or cannot do so you can complement its strengths. The bottom line is this: learn the explicit knowledge, build tacit skills, combine your interest and passions, always keep assessing, learning, applying, and adapting. This will help you position yourself competitively and to complement AI systems so you can do meaningful work for a long time to come. Thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing if you like my videos.
Thank you so much. That was Dr. Rabjesh there, and I hope that gives you a tantalizing and intersectionality between education as well as the skill of the future. And that is actually an important sort of opportunity for one to be able to have the opportunity to be able to begin to look at that. You'll be able to see, I think the elephant in the room is actually the AI. We are almost, I'm not competing with George here who is in Australia. I think the future is that how do you are competing with the AI, and that competition with the AI is to try to complement and find an area, identify an area that AI is not good at, because AI, whether we like it or not, is here to stay. And it's going to be part of our lives, and it's already improving our lives, and it's going to continue to do that. So look at the cognitive areas. As I said, those are some of the skills that actually makes us human, for us to be able to do those, and that all those skills that be able to complement the AI. And I want to move on very quickly because I want us to have a lot of room for questions and answers. For discussions. But what I think I want to do is that what is clear is that the economy of the future will be built on mobile workforce, constant learning, as you can see. So to have one degree and to see that is no longer going to be the order of the day. Is what is being called lifelong learning. So investment in lifelong learning, constant assessment to be able to look at where you are. Is AI catching up to you? Catching up, then you then look at other skills that you need to develop. All those skills are very, very important. And this is an example of unpacking human skills as part of that Rosetta Stone for Skill of the Future report. And what they have identified is that most of the jobs that have been identified have been posted. These are the sort of the frequency of these sort of skills that they've identified in all those skills, such as management skill, communications, sales, customer service, operations, leadership, innovation, problem solving, research, and presentation. And you can see the order of importance in terms of percentage. And you will see that Dr. Ramage also alluded to that in his presentation and summary in that short video. So everything that we are talking about is to be able to then look at humanize everything. And the Institute of the Future, they've done some work on what is called Future Skills Map. And this is an example of that sort of map they've put together for one to be able to look at things and be able to position yourself, make yourself known, befriend the machines. So as I said, whether we like it or not, we cannot be afraid of AI or machines or robots. They are here to stay. Befriend the machine, keep it going. So it's a continuous exercise to continue lifelong learning, make sense of what you are trying to do and build your own tribe. So whether the sort of areas of domain that you want to operate and be a leader, develop your skill and expertise. And this is an example of the work that is Institute for the research into the future as well and lifelong learning. They've done a sort of work, forces that will shape the future of education. As I said, the intersectionality between education and the future skills that are required, very, very important. And these are the sort of areas they've identified, forces that will be shaping the future of education, such as education for all, 21st century workplace, as we saw in the JJL video. Everything is automated, you move in from one domain, even when you are speaking, automated translation. So language is no longer going to be a barrier. Globalization, as we said, is a concept that is being driven by the movement of people, ideas, and sort of a collaboration and partnership. Fourth industrial revolution is going to be shaping the emerging technologies. An example is what we are doing today, new generation of learners who are very, very curious and inquisitive. Open education resources, artificial intelligence, information explosion, big data, Internet of Things, and learning analytics. All those things will be very, very important to deliver, not only in terms of the future of education that will be shaping the future, they will also contribute to the future. And this is the future work skills, according to the Institute for the Future report. So those are the sort of skills, again, which I think you'll be able to identify some of those things that we've been discussing tonight. And the overarching point is that the world is going to become globally connected, as you can see, which is under globalization. We become very, very entrenched. So in terms of what we do, there'll be almost borderless and things will become less of a barrier. And I want to start by looking at, I want to summarize as we come towards the end by looking at the essential employability skills that have been developed, the things that we call the EEQs. And those are the areas that I want you to hopefully be able to develop in terms of the future development: communicators, thinkers and problem solvers, inquirers, collaborators, skills and the future that are adaptable, principled and ethical. As we see, most of the younger generation, sustainability are very, very important to them. There's a lot of disruptions, not only in terms of governance. You see that everything is being disrupted. it's very difficult for even for citizens to be governed. Everyone is looking for self-governance. You look at the power that whether it's Google, whether it's Apple, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, you look at those powers they've got now and all those things that are able to. So everything is becoming very a sort of a open society, if you like, responsible and professional. Once again, lifelong learners. So it's not enough to say I'm having 1 degree and that is it. It's not possible in the future. So all those are the essential employability qualities that one we need to develop to be able to be competitive and to succeed in the future. These are the 6 things that you need to know about the future of work has been developed. For example, as I highlighted earlier, analytics are trending. For us to be able to have that sort of ability, for us to be able to have that sort of opportunity, to be able to be analytical, all those things are very important. Math is a big plus and advantage, which is indeed, whether it's numeracy skills, it will become very important in the future. We can already see how people, wherever you are going to be, whatever domain, whether it's about big data, whether it's about machine themselves, being able to have the opportunity to be good in numeracy, that would be a very big advantage. And more importantly, employers want a flexibility. It's not enough to say, this is my domain. They want you to be able to, using your transferable skills and skills that you've developed, to be able to say, George, we want to move you from being a digital guru to being our internet or online learning experts. They want you to have that flexibility, and being able to do that is for you to continue to reinvent yourself, to continue to develop your skills that are very important. And digital is not negotiable, whether we like it or not. Digitalization, we live in a digital world. You already have a digital governance, you already have a different things, and this is now, this disruption has already ensured, facilitated, particularly in the area of education. And whether we like it or not, digital is here to stay, and it will continue to be here for the future. Developing that sort of skills is very important. And the other thing is the 3 C's, which are very crucial: communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. For example, an example of the excellence in collaboration and partnership is why we're here tonight. Our collaboration and partnership between Durham University and our partner, Global Education. So that will be part of the future that will continue to ensure that we have that opportunity. And mobility is very important. We've seen an example of that mobility. How people like myself, I moved from a sort of small village in Nigeria, being able to have the opportunity to be able to develop my expertise and be able to walk around the world. And George is here today from a very small, humble place in Zimbabwe. And George is around the world. So those are the skills. And an example of, oh, sorry, that's my boy. And Benjamin is here. The people of the future. Yeah. So this is an example. And as I said earlier, the Institute for the Future, the Strada Institute, they're already saying people will be in their career for almost 100 years in the future. And this is an example. So in the past, when people are able to work for up to 40, 30 years, that's an example of what we are seeing. So what I want to do is, George, please, let's share the last video, then we'll be able to open it to question and discussion. Thank you very much. Yeah. While George is doing that, I want to go ahead, George, to get the video ready. I want to continue to ensure that, yes, thank you. Please go ahead.
What you're looking at are not just children's drawings, they're children's dreams. In 2017, Education and Employers, a UK-based charity, asked some 20,000 primary school pupils in the United Kingdom and in 19 other countries to draw what they want to be when they grow up. These pictures of sports stars and doctors, teachers and veterinarians show you that kids as young as 7 already have big plans for themselves. But some children are setting limits to their own ambitions. A study of these drawings and the backgrounds of the children who drew them finds that children from wealthier families tend to see themselves working in higher-paying professions. For example, the most popular job choices among girls from more advantaged families are architect, engineer, and vet. But among girls from more deprived families, the favorite choices are hairdresser, nurse, sales assistant, and beauty therapist. These differences in aspirations don't disappear as children grow up. The OECD Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA, finds that advantaged 15-year-old students are significantly more likely than their disadvantaged peers to expect to work in high-status careers. The founder and president of the Children's Defense Fund in the United States, Marian Wright Edelman, said it best: "You can't be what you can't see." When it comes to imagining their own future, children look to the adults around them for inspiration. Children from disadvantaged families often have a limited view of the world of work. Because of that, they may not push themselves to study hard at school, which only adds to their disadvantage. Boys and girls, rich and poor, need to see the many kinds of work that men and women do. They need to meet people who do jobs they can't even imagine. PISA finds that while most 15-year-olds already have a good idea about the kind of career they want to pursue, their choices have little in common with the reality of the job market. So how can children, no matter where they live, no matter what their background, get to learn about all of these jobs? There's a simple way. Volunteers from the world of work can visit primary school classrooms and talk to pupils about the work they do and how they learn to do it. Some schools have already opened their doors to local doctors and firefighters and engineers, to the benefit of both the children and the adults involved. And technology now makes it possible to connect these volunteers with schools so kids can learn about work from lawyers and artists and electricians living in communities that may be far from their own. Think of it as a kind of show and tell. It may be child's play, but it can help fire kids' imagination and ambition. It can get them thinking about how the things they learn in school are related to the jobs they might do later on. And it can help them understand what it really takes to turn their dreams into reality. Many of us have taken our daughters and sons to work. It's now time to take our work to school.
Thank you so much, and I hope that sort of encapsulates. I thought I will leave you with that sort of reflection, because it is hugely important for us to be able to how other people are limiting the opportunities that they have in terms of the future, and I hope that gives you a sort of food for thought. Thank you very much. I want to stop here, and I want to open this to question and answer or for comments.
Dr. Mudashiru.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. What an enlightening, inspiring, realistic, just all out, just inspiring video and presentation. You've put in so much food for thought in my own head for my own career, and then the process going forward for my own family in such a new way. I wanted to ask you the very first question here. When you were deciding to look at the future of jobs and that for this presentation, and coming from Africa yourself as well, where do you see Africa going? Do you see Africa moving in the right trajectory? And what can students in South Africa and Zimbabwe go to first? Like, where should they just start if they're curious about what to study? Where would you tell them to go and look at first? Sorry, you're on mute.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That is so. Thank you very much, George. I mean, that's a very, very difficult question indeed, and I will try to dissect it as much as possible. I just want to open the window. Yeah, really interesting question, George. And I think in the context of Africa, and I think Africa as a whole, we look at, I think Africa has to be divided into two. You look at countries like South Africa, that is sort of, in terms of advancement and technological capability, they're sort of ahead of the rest of other African countries. And you then look at Nigeria, who is also there, however, has not been able to reach its potential. But I think within the context of the new framework of the African Union, if they're able to take things further, hopefully there'll be more collaboration, partnership, and integration across Africa. Because for Africa to succeed and to continue to provide opportunities for the African citizens, we need to have a sort of very similar system on the scale of the European Union, where African countries will be able to come together, freedom of movement, mobility, trade, exchange of technological exchange, and opportunities for us to interact. And so that the young generation, they'll be able to propel Africa for the future. However, the good news is that if you look at demographics, that is what is exciting the international community, whether it's about the youth population, whether it's everything, that Africa, we've got all those. And we have opportunity. It's now for us to be able to develop these young people, these young minds, for them to be able to achieve and be the best that they can be to reach their potential. Not only about the benefit of these individuals, but also for them to be able to develop Africa and to make Africa to be competitive. On a more personal note, if people are looking for, in terms of education, I mean, of course, we are all bogged down by statistics as well as ranking. So you look at all of us, you'll be looking at top universities in the world, top universities in the UK, universities that have been around, a university like ourselves, which is rightly so, because nowadays where you study matters, because it is where you go that will give you, I think myself and Georgia and colleagues that are here, we are here today because we can say we have competed with the best in the world of education. And that is why we are here. And where you study matters in the sense that that is where you have the opportunity to be able to compete with the best in the world of learning. And those are the places that we empower you and give you the opportunity and the skills that you need to be able to forge ahead. So it's been a difficult question. We definitely want our African, sort of a future African student to be inspired and to be more competitive and to prove themselves that they want to go to the best, not only to the best university, but to be competitive, to go to top universities where they can be competitive and to be able to meet the right people and develop the right skills. Thank you very much.
With Durham University, Dr. Mudashiru, is there a clear focus with more of the STEM sort of courses coming through now, or is it really traditional and said like a wide array of courses? Just to give people a little bit of background on Durham, I think is worthwhile.
Thank you very much. As a university, I mean, I try to not oversell the university in the context of this discussion. That's why I've been very, of course, as a university with almost 200 years of history, our reputation is there. We built ourselves, our portfolio of our programs around the science, education, art, and humanities. And of course, in the context of our government strategy, you look at the government around the world, everyone is developing capabilities in the area of STEM subjects. And in particular, if you look at this pandemic alone and the disruptions, not that other areas will not be important, but there's more, a sort of more focus in the area of a STEM subject. And as a university, we continue to develop our capability. I mean, we've already established ourselves. For example, the first engineering department was actually at Durham University in the whole of England. We in physics, we are number 2 in physics in the UK. In music, we are number 1. So we look at all those varieties of areas. For example, I believe I can fly. That's musically speaking. So where Durham is number 1. So we are developing the capabilities and the skill sets across the board. So there's future for everybody, whether it's STEM subject, whether it's art and humanities, as long as we continue to develop our expertise and build in all those human cognitive skills that we identified in this discussion. So as a university, we through our broad spectrum of programs, we excel in both a STEM subject as well as the art and humanities. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I just I'm listening to you talk, and the words are resonating with me, and a couple of students that I'm talking to as well, and I'll definitely be sharing them the links that you've shared with us to have a look at where they want to study. And I think you've given some great resources here to start that research, to find out, Global, when we counsel students, we always try to advise students, find where your passion is, find what you want to do. But I think also adding the element of the future in your presentation is just brilliant in terms of, yes, your passion, but also look at the future. Where will you see yourself in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, let alone 150 years, which I thought was an amazing statistic to learn about. So I really do appreciate your time, Dr. Mudashiru. It's been absolutely wonderful to have you here. And I do hope we can present you again and I hope all of South Africa and Zimbabwe gets to see this. I think it's a very important presentation that you gave, not just to us at Global Education for our students, but to everybody. And we will do our best to share this information. I'd like to say thank you. Has anybody got any questions? I know we had a lot of students just drop off now, so it looks like maybe there was a power cut as well. We do know it's late in South Africa as well. So please, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box and we'll get to them. I've got another question for you, Dr. Mudashiru. With Durham, with the location of where it is it like a big city town as well, or is it a university type college city like you get in like America? Is it got that kind of feel?
Thank you very much. I mean, I wanted to, when I was giving that sort of introduction, I wanted to ensure that the bulk of our time is on the sort of subject matter that we wanted to discuss for the benefit of our audience. I mean, as a university, we, as I showed in the sort of brief introduction and image that I showed of the panoramic view of the university, we are a city. Actually, we are small. We are a town. And I want to start by answering that question from by sort of our viewers, by sort of giving them a sort of history lesson about the United Kingdom. Traditionally, in the United Kingdom, here, the way you become a city is that you must have a cathedral. And here at Durham University, in Durham, we have one of the largest cathedrals in the country. So that makes us a city. So there are some other cities or towns that are bigger than Durham, but they are not cities because they don't have the cathedral. So where the city center and the Durham and the university itself, we're a small town, which is actually very, very beautiful, with a sense of history, a lot of tradition, and it's the only UNESCO World Heritage Site where we are seated. That shows the history of our university as well as the city. So within the city and the university, everywhere is within 10-15 minutes walking distance. For example, I don't have a car here. I go everywhere either by walking or by cycling. So we are going to, people might think we are living the age of stupidity, but we care about the environment, we care about sustainability, and it's a very green atmosphere here. So the interaction between the city and the university is something that is very organic, it's been well developed, and you can actually be within your lecture theater, then you are in the high street, which we call in Africa city center, within 5 minutes, walking distance. So those are the sort of interaction that we have. So it's a very vibrant, and as an international university, we welcome students from 190 countries around the world. Our current population of our students from South Africa is about 60 who are studying with us. We have a very vibrant alumni based in South Africa, based in Johannesburg, as well as Cape Town and across the country. In the context of Zimbabwe, we currently have some 12 students studying with us from Zimbabwe. And our South African students, they enjoy some scholarships that we also offer as a university to our South African students to come and study here. Thank you.
Yeah, I just, the reason I asked that question was, when you look at the pictures from the very beginning of your presentation and listening to the words that you spoke, you've got this old historic feel, but you've got the focus of the new. And I think that's really important, that you can't have one without the other. Knowing the history and knowing where it's going, I think is really important. And the way you articulated that was really good.
Thank you so much for your observation, George. And a very important observation indeed, because we are building on our history, on our heritage, on our background, then forging that into the future. So that is the sort of a driver or impetus that is giving us to be able to move into the right direction. And we continue to develop our estates. We continue to invest in our estate. We recently invested well in excess of 200 million pounds on our estate, new buildings, modern facilities, to ensure that we continue to challenge and have a exceptional wider student experience for our students when they come here that is comparable to anywhere in the world.
Dr. Mudashiru, I'd like to thank you very much for your time this evening. I'd like to let you go to your family as well, and to everybody listening in South Africa, please do send us an email, get in contact with us if you'd like to talk to Dr. Mudashiru. He's open book policy with him. He helps all our students that like to go and participate at Durham. My contact details are george@global-education.co.za, and you know where to reach us, so please don't hesitate. And Dr. Mudashiru, I'll let you, any last words from you, and we'll close it out.
Oh, thank you so much. I think what is just left for me is to thank all our viewers who have taken their time to join us this evening. We know it's very late, and thank you so much. And I hope what we've shared with you tonight, it is something that will give us all of us a sort of inspiration, and I'll continue to ensure that we continue to develop ourselves. And I want to thank our colleagues and our partner, the Global Education, for facilitating this. And we look forward to a future opportunity to meet colleagues and all our future students across South Africa. Thank you so much. From Durham University to the world, good night, goodbye.
Absolutely.
And good night. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.